Hey, I'm Jason McDougall with Climate Control up in Fort McMurray. Thanks for having me here today. I just want to talk a little bit about the refrigeration trade, why I got involved in it, what I love about it, and why I think it's a good trade to get involved in. In 2007, I got offered a job working for Honeywell down in Canmore as a refrigeration apprentice. I didn't really know what refrigeration apprentices or mechanics did, but I decided to just kind of dive into it and see what it was all about. Day one, they gave me a truck, had a good journeyman, and a couple building maintenance contracts to go look after. It was a little intimidating at first, just kind of jumping into it, having a couple buildings to look after, the heating, the cooling, and a bunch of things I'd never seen before. But tinkering my whole life growing up with just about anything I could kind of gave me a little bit of confidence that I could at least get started on it and then rely on a journeyman to be able to help cover any of those things I was missing. I did that for a couple of years and then decided to move back up to Fort McMurray, my hometown, and just to finish off my apprenticeship. It's a 4-year course. Worked out at the oil sands for a little bit and then worked in town for a little bit. And after a couple nights of complaining about my boss not listening to me for the last time, I decided to start Climate Control. 7 years ago now, almost 8, started it up. Just had a truck and wanted to get out there and do what I loved about HVAC, which is helping people. It's one of the best things about this trade where you can get out there and just somebody calls you because they need help. Either they're too hot or they're too cold or something's going to freeze up, or refrigeration goes into the commercial world of grocery stores having their freezers go down or coolers not working, down to mechanical rooms like I'm in here. I'm over at the YMCA. There is 100 people in this building, maybe not right now with COVID, but some days there are, and this equipment makes sure that these people are comfortable, that classrooms can continue, that fitness can happen. So looking after this stuff is very critical, and it's really enjoyable to be that person that somebody needs to, fix these things. Somebody calls you and they need you to show up. And when they show up, or when you show up to these places, they're happy to see you. Yeah, Jason's here, he's gonna fix our equipment. And it's a good feeling. You get in there and you start getting kind of your hands on the equipment and see what's going on. And they're just as happy when you do fix it, and they're happy to see you leave because they're not paying you anymore, which is pretty positive for them, but they're also happy that their equipment's working, or at least you have a solution for them. This is just as important for people that at home, if somebody's furnace is down, or it's minus 20 outside and they can't have heat, everyone's huddled around the oven trying to keep warm. It's just nice to be able to help those people out, and that's one thing I really enjoy about this trade. And then also over time, getting the hands on the same equipment over and over and over again, you really learn how this equipment works just by listening and kind of being in a mechanical room almost. My first journeyman, Alex, told me that on the second day. He's like, by the time you're a journeyman, you'll be able to walk into a mechanical room and kind of know what's wrong just from listening, touching, feeling equipment around. And I didn't believe him. I thought it was bull, but it's true. I can walk into this mechanical room now, and first thing I did when I walked in here, I realized that there was a couple pumps over here, pump 3 and pump 4, that do the heating supply. They were pretty noisy. So I checked the VFDs, seen that they were ramping at the right speed, but they were a little low on pressure. So I had to bump up the boiler pressure, or the glycol pressure, which fixed that right away. But it's just those things that, as a first year, I would have never known that thing. And it just comes with experience, comes with time. But and the vast majority of things that you get to work on as a refrigeration mechanic is also what makes it so enjoyable. From boiler pumps to glycol systems, hot water tanks, HRVs, air handling systems, air conditioning, refrigeration. The list is so extensive on all the different pieces of equipment you get to work on. It's awesome. For myself, that's what I really enjoy about it. And nothing's the same. Every boiler system's different. Every pump is different. They all functionally do the same thing, but there are so many different ways to accomplish the same goal that it's just neat to see how different systems and different engineers have designed things to do it. And then not only that, but being able to go through and troubleshoot every different type of boiler system to accomplish the same goal that they're trying to accomplish. Right here we have a couple of Hydrotherm 2 million BTU boilers. They have an extensive control system. And it's, you know, they're one of the fancier boilers we look after here, and they're huge, but they are way different than the two other YMCA properties. I believe it's an Intertherm boiler at another YMCA, and I forget the last boiler, but they all work differently. You can't change parts. You have to know how to fix every single one, and just having that broader range of equipment to work on makes every service call different. Every time you're in a mechanical room, it's something different. You know, it's rare that you get to do the same call twice. It's nice when you get to do the same call twice, because sometimes you can just walk up to something. Like if you've worked on the same carrier furnace 25 times, you can walk into a customer's house. They're saying, hey, I don't have any heat. It does this. You walk down, take a look at the furnace, kind of put your hand on it. You're like, oh yeah, I know it's the inducer motor. It's $112. I got one in the truck. It'll take me 45 minutes to change out. And that, again, that turns back to like the customer just being so appreciative that you know what you're talking about, that you can get them up and running again, and they don't have to worry. That just really makes me love this trade. And you know, there are some things, what am I trying to say here? It's like an emergency type job as well. Most of the refrigeration, other than maybe if you're a first or second year running refrigeration piping, it's a very emergency service type work. It's a lot of, like I said earlier, hey, my furnace isn't working, or the grocery store is going down. It's all very emergency style work, which is nice. It keeps the pace going really high. And then also in between, there's lots of maintenance that needs to be done. Every building we look after requires, 8 hours every quarter to go in, change filters, check belts, make sure things are going to work so you get less emergency calls. Those are some of the things I really enjoy about being a refrigeration mechanic, helping people, fixing a wide variety of things, and just every day being a little different. It's really nice for that. But if those things aren't really up your alley, also refrigeration is a great trade for cash. There are some mechanics up in Fort McMurray that are getting paid $65 an hour to be a journeyman. I'm not saying that that's what you would make, but the opportunity's out there to make some good money. And also the refrigeration trade is getting lower on techs than it used to be. It was kind of an old boys club, quote unquote, to say, for a long time, where there was only a certain amount of refrigeration equipment out there, and there was a group of people that they liked refrigeration, and they didn't want people to come in and get involved, and so they kind of kept it really tight knit. A couple apprentices made their way through because you need some new people, but over 20 years it was really rare to have refrigeration mechanics come in. But now we're starting to see some of those people retire. I think the average age is pretty high for a refrigeration mechanic. I don't want to say any numbers I don't know actual facts on, but I think it's pretty high. You see a lot of refrigeration mechanics retiring, and as a refrigeration owner of a business, I have a hard time finding refrigeration mechanics. Every time we need somebody new to fill a gap, I'm looking Alberta, Saskatchewan, BC, Ontario, just to get 3 interviews so I can hire one person. And sometimes all 3 interviews are bust and I get nobody, which is fine. I mean, we can make do, but it's just going to show you that it's a very valued trade, and it's rare. So having that work and having a red seal as well allows you to work in Canada, Australia, Great Britain. There's a lot of opportunity to go anywhere, and refrigeration is such a specialty trade that it's really hard for any other trades to kind of get involved in refrigeration, where it's the opposite for refrigeration to other trades. Refrigeration mechanic, as you come out of school, you have 3,000 hours towards an electrical ticket. So you really need to do 2 tests and 2 years, and you'll have your electrical ticket as well. It also ties into every other trade. We have plumbers, gas fitters, sheet metal, electricians on our staff that we work with every day. Always a refrigeration mechanics with somebody else, and so you're always learning multiple things. You can learn how to fix pretty much anything you want. It's such a wide variety of things. It's like a jack of all trades trade, which is, again, more reasons why I love this trade. Yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. I'll pretty much show you around this mechanical room here. The YMCA was very nice to let us get in here and kind of show this place off, because it's pretty new. It's about 4 years old, maybe 5 now, but I'll kind of show you around a couple things and show you what we work on, show you what we do for maintenance, and kind of give you an idea of what a day in the life of an HVAC mechanic would be like. So we have this air handling unit here. It is pretty much the size of this room I've been walking up and down all day here. You can see inside here, there's a massive motor, 20 horsepower. It is huge. That controls this fan. There's a couple of them on here. You have to come in here, grease them every 3 months or every 6 months, change the belts, make sure everything's running good. There's a humidifier over here, which allows the air to be humidified based on the climate in here. We have a couple of refrigeration lines going in. The refrigeration lines go to a coil, which keep the air cool. And if you follow these refrigeration lines up, oh, sorry, hopefully I'm not making you guys sick. The refrigeration unit sits up on the roof. Always the condensing units outside to kind of dispatch or get rid of any heat. And then brings the refrigeration in here, which allows to get rid of any cooling, which will cool your space off. We have a couple heating coils. There's a post-heat and a pre-heat coil over here that go in this makeup air, and then there's also banks and banks and banks of filters. You will not get sick of changing filters as a refrigeration mechanic. I don't know how many I've changed. Millions, who knows? But changing filters is part of it because you really get a good idea of what the equipment's doing. You know, here's a good coil example. This is the heating coil where the heat comes in, and this is the coil that the air goes through. And our filters here are to protect the coil from any particulates. You can see that some stuff does get through, or when we're changing filters, it kind of plugs up a tiny bit, but part of the maintenance is to clean those coils every year. And I guess, how do we get to the heating coil? We have fresh water coming in, which gets mixed with a little bit of glycol, and there's a glycol makeup over there. And then if you take and you follow that, it comes into our boiler system. That water gets heated up in our boilers. Our boilers get pumped out. As I showed you guys earlier, there's a couple pumps here, cooling and heating pumps. They get pumped through. They go a heat exchanger for some of the heating. And then that works its way through. There's different types of heaters. You can see a heater overhead for this mechanical room and into this. And also in every room, there is a small heat exchanger, which allows for some extra heat going into every room. So that's the basics of the heating unit here. The refrigeration is tied in with this air conditioning system as well. We have a couple hot water tanks here, which feed hot water to the building for your taps, toilets. Well, I guess toilets don't have hot water, but you know what I mean. And what else is neat about this and being a refrigeration mechanic? Technology these days is pretty advanced. Right here we have a BMS system, which will show you. Oh, 1 second, I got logged out. Which will show you kind of how the heating system's working. It'll show you the boilers here. It's supplying 60 degrees. Pump 4 is running at 100%. And it's just neat to see this. You can see your air handling system, you can see what temperatures are going in. All the way down to a floor plan, so you can see the temperature of every room. Like, let's see, room 31 has a temperature right now of, it's getting supplied 22 degrees. It's sitting at 22.6, just where it wants to be. And this is a neat tool that even from your office or your house, you can kind of tie in and see, if the YMCA calls, you got an emergency call, you can just kind of dial in, see what's going on, and kind of help troubleshoot from there. And that's just more ways that technology is getting advanced into our career as well. I think that's pretty much a good little walkthrough, an idea of what this trade's involved in. I'll be sticking around for a little Q&A after. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And thanks so much. Have a good day.